Okay, basi wana mwachi muri TV ya AGR News na bali motorigeti wetera simtandao au ya Facebook na YouTube. Nikongo kwariania ya masemo ase enkwana yito ya bene litukeriga ya lero. Na bali mototakero tegoterege radio yito ya bagusigo bo radio. Bemano asoko gochora bo totegerera. Waligani bwato magani aigase studio makana na mage tukuchukwanira lituko ya lero. Editariane nikongo kwa Denizado kiniko kwariania ase enkwano ya lituko ya lero eyamo aseyamo. Karibu sana magani ase studio. Akiyokurukwa ba tegereri na bali baturigireti ya TV ya AGR News ni bakomare.
Okay, thank you for Itanga Nindarate who I am. First, I welcome you for this courtesy visit in Chempola Ngwenye. I'm an elected member of the County Assembly of Kisii, Korwe Ward, Korokusensi Ward. Yes.
Okay, asante sana bwana atebire erenigo akurukunga Paula Ngwenyi kurwase award ya sensi yo gutuka se bunge ya kituti cha North ime ya county ya Kisii no murai urase kirogo wikaboniga kubwachoretwe asobochorwa wa kolekanete wechirubere na ngwa se kumnesa lebere itukoria lero ndiko tukichukwana na bangana BBI una mumanyeteri tangani BBI na report igana tuchukwana no manyete muraigwe kiama kia ODM Raila Odinga niko bakwana neti no muraigwe se Uhuru Kenyatta tikanda motinyo gatatu mwaka w'ikirubere na ngwase 15 na isatoka gakoleke tusoko kwanga handshake bakwanania bagateba ngo mulembe wika obe asese ya Kenya kogera asese ya Kenya twabere tugushudia mangana mange anene kala kochole kokolekana after every 5 years wasanginga ko moto kabire number 2 tali wancha ko concede buna wiru asekero ko keburai bagateba ngani ko baguchikorosi report ro ko BBI bunechiremo yo kubwatanya abakenya BBI Nechikubwatanya abakenya, do we really need BBI to unite Kenyans?
Thank you, Leo Minto. I want to say this. Nchepola Ngwenye, Koruna Wandawa since Wangakete Chikura, Naigete County Ga, I'm now the chairman, County Delegated Legislations, Monto Teneta Machiko, Ariakoro Siwase County Ngima, na Machiko ako border on service delivery. Building bridges to a united Kenya.
Yes.
The document here. Na muroche engonya konya somakira rituko. So that I understand ngaivakurwa ngaivagochia and what do they call a united Kenya?
Yes.
Yes. So in my view is that it's a progressive document which needs some banal beating and improvement. And in so doing, our Kenya will be more united.
Yes.
They have given us a bridge that we need to pass through so that we have a more cohesive, a more united country. That this every 5 years or continuous politicking in this country will come to an end. But a number of aspects needs to be dealt with to make it a proper document that is going to help this country move forward.
Yes.
Yes.
Kulingana naye ripoti ibina kwara yesomire. Tukwete kwa yakora some amendments imatotaraga na serikali.
Inatewega it's a progressive document. And a progressive document has room for improvement. So I don't know, so you're at the deal this book, this document, born at this area stage, or you have other questions you need to ask?
Yes, I have my questions I wanted to ask.
So in this document, I can classify it into 3 or 4 sections.
Yes.
There are issues about the constitution and which we need.
Yes.
There are issues about administration which we have to deal with. There are issues about policy which we have to deal with. And there are issues about economic empowerment which we have to deal with. All these issues, you can't deal them in isolation. You have to deal with them from the constitutional perspective, then administrative perspective, policy perspective, and economic perspective.
Yes.
Because they don't stand alone. They need to support each other. But broadly, the constitutional amendments are the critical issues that need to be dealt with first.
Yes.
Then the administrative issues can be dealt with as time goes by.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, mwacho muri TV ya AGR nikongera tu kwana yemo aseyemo na mheshimiwa Paul Angwenyi uyiro mwenzie ase county ya Kisii anene takete tuchikuriria magana devolution tumane kogenda national level orochenga report ya BBI yeu propose nga chibese chimetu weka 35% ucha city county engaki yekire tuweta kwa chibese sene kwa twabire tokora corruption ase county chetu
ndede ko koira ni maiga my good friend,
yes,
that devolution is a good concept. But what is the mischief? What is the mischief that we want to deal with as a country? We have seen to what extent devolution has assisted this country. Today, by and large, you can see the number of projects that have been initiated by virtue of devolution. And the idea of sending more money to counties is a very good idea, a noble idea. Because then we shall have no interest to think of going to Nairobi, to the national government, because we shall have money here and we shall develop our people right here. But what is the mischief? Constitutions are made to address certain mischiefs. When you read the BBI, the background information about the BBI is about every 5 years Kenyans kill each other. Every 5 years Kenyans butcher each other. You saw when we were in Bomas, baby Pendo, an innocent young baby who was killed because of violence. And it has come out very clear that why we are having all these wars is because the ultimate prize is presidency. That's why people are fighting for presidency. Because when you have presidency, you can now allocate the resources of the country the way you want. So how do we deal with this? Is first to cure that. And curing that is to ensure that you don't make presidency a very attractive position.
Yes.
Is to ensure that you decentralize power from
national
presidency to the people. How? The Building Bridges document proposes the creation of other positions.
Exact.
Like there's the presidency, and there is the executive prime minister, 2 deputies, and there is the office of opposition leader. The question we need to ask ourselves, does this provide a remedy? Does this provide a solution? And I want to tell you, and I'm honest, you know, when I'm honest, I'm honest.
Yes.
I don't need any explanation. I am honest and I'm speaking my mind as a Kenyan. This is a very good proposal, but it needs to be amended. Why? If we are moving that direction of having the prime minister and the leader of official position, then let us make it a thing that is going to help this country. How? In my view, and I want to be very clear on this. In my view, if we are healing the mischief of violence, if we are healing the mischief of the winner take it all, then this is time that we need to decentralize power. Remove this power from the center and take it to the people. And there are many other ways to do it. One, we must ensure that is either we are going full throttle to a presidential system, but make sure you have proper checks and balances that are going to ensure that power is not absolute. Have you seen? You get what I'm saying? That's one. Two, if we are going to a parliamentary system, let us have a parliamentary system. And to this end, my proposal should be, and this is what we presented to the Building Bridges Initiative technical team, and I still believe that is the only way we have to move as a country. Let us have a pure parliamentary system. A pure parliamentary system that is going to ensure that the the competition, that the contest is not about who's going to be the president. It's going to be about people. Who do you elect to go to the National Assembly? Then the National Assembly will convert itself into a college where the party that has the majority in that parliament elects their prime minister and becomes the head of government, forms government. Then he has two deputies with the responsibilities, either one to be head of finance and the other one head of devolution. That is well. But we cannot have this kind of proposal here, because this proposal does not create any difference. As we speak of today, what this proposal has said, the person we call the leader of majority is the one who's being converted to be the executive prime minister.
Exactly.
The person we call the leader of minority is the one who's being converted to be the leader of opposition.
So there's no difference.
There's not much difference. What we are saying, we must be bold as a country and say, presidential system has brought us this kind of problems. We fight for it. Yeah? Everybody would want to be the president because it's the ultimate prize. Can't we decentralize this power? And I have said it somewhere else that I don't see, if we want to move forward as a country, let us allow President Uhuru Kenyatta to be the president, head of state, as a transitional mechanism for the next 5 years. But as we go to election 2022, currently is the head of state and government.
Exactly.
But from 2022, as a transitional mechanism, we allow him to be the head of state, as proposed in the first Bomas Constitutional Conference, which was held several years back. Yeah? Because the first Bomas Conference had a proposal of having the president as head of state and the prime minister as head of government. So we allow Uhuru Kenyatta to continue as head of state and oversee the implementation of the reforms that we are now advocating for. Yeah? The reforms that we are advocating for.
Yes.
Yeah? So that cohesion we are talking about as a country is realized. So that if Raila and the Ruto and the Mudavadis of this world and others who want to enjoy executive power, let them go there and rally.
Yes.
Their people, elect many more members of parliament, so that once they go to parliament, a coalition or a party that will have the majority and will control parliament will elect a prime minister and its two deputies who will now run government, who will be head of government.
Yes.
And on the other side, then let's have the party with the minority to be the official opposition party, with also the structure as was proposed in the first Bomas Conference. That is the only way we are going to cure our country. But you cannot tell us and create something here, changing only names and think that we are moving in the right direction. We are just lying ourselves. We are not being honest to ourselves. You get it? If we have to move forward as a country, we must tell ourselves honestly, how do we want to heal the problem of violence, the problem of killing innocent people just because we are fighting for political power? It is to decentralize, is to make that ultimate prize unattractive to people, so that today what could Ruto should be now doing his maths. How many members of parliament am I going to get? Raila should be walking around and saying, how many members of parliament am I going to get?
Yes.
The contest is not now about the ultimate power.
Yes.
The contest will be with the people.
Exactly.
and the people will now elect their representative to parliament, from where the prime minister will be identified, who will now run government and will be going to parliament to answer questions from the elected representatives. And then we have cases to borrow from. Look on to Britain here, our colony. Britain was our colony. They have a system. They have the monarchy, and they have the parliamentary system. The Prime Minister of Britain goes to Parliament and answers questions as they have been raised by the members.
So are you proposing the Prime Minister to be given more power than the...
Yes. Let us not have a colorless, let us not have a position which is colorless.
Yes.
Let us make it a powerful position. And the only way we are going to heal this mischief is to allow President Uhuru Kenyatta to continue as head of state. After serving as head of government and head of commander-in-chief, after serving his 5 years, for purposes of transition, we will allow, and this will provide political goodwill,
yes,
we will allow President Uhuru Kenyatta to continue as head of state for a transitional period of 5 years. Then thereafter, he will not be allowed to contest anything in this country. So that the rooters of this world, the Raila'S, or my party leader, and others who will want to enjoy executive power, will now refocus, go to the constituencies, and make sure that constituencies elect their representatives, their people, to parliament for them to be executive prime ministers and head of government. That's the only way we are going to cure this thing. Yeah.
Okay, asante sana mwancho motegereri no lyo turigirite gwitire TV ya AGR News. Una mwaigure mwishinwa pora ngwenyi ni gabatemanga kirwo kibu prime minister. Niko kiborete kwa iwa chimbo michinene ikiagera nere andi akora tware ababunge abange ase ebunge erene. Takete tujiko kwanira mangana ya shadow cabinet eyo gwichigutwarwa no murai okurwa ase ensemo yo kwameria eserikali. Ande uli ulabe namba 2 asobochi bali obonene obo kolekana asese ya Kenya. Uruchenga ngoro koboko okorosiwa kuya ofisi ya opposition leader na kutwara shadow cabinet tuje county government.
Ito tegete tutuare a parliamentary system. Parliamentary system what the head of state,
yes,
or you're the president or a head of state. Tutuare prime minister or head of government,
yes,
and his 2 deputies. Tutuare position of leader of minority or the leader of minority in parliament.
Yes.
Probably it could be the person who was who was number 2 in that election to go to parliament and now oversight the running of government.
Exactly.
Once that structure is agreed as a country, I don't mind having a shadow cabinet, exactly, to oversight, because the ultimate objective of government and opposition is to oversight, is to check, it's a checkmate, to issues about governance.
Yes.
The other issues which will now deal, we will now on administrative issues, will now bring IPC in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do we want, if we want to also cure this issue, let us decentralize IBC. IBC is a commissioner in Nairobi. Let us decentralize the IBC and empower them to conduct elections at the county levels. What the Jebkatis of this world will receive is the records of what has happened at the counties.
Yes.
But when you monopolize, you make sure that everything is controlled from Nairobi at the national level. You are bringing corruption, you are bringing many other issues.
Yes.
Like now, you know, there's the guy Musando was killed. We don't know who killed them up today. Those issues will now go to the national level because only a few clique of people are managing the electoral process.
Yes.
The other thing you raised about devolution, and you said, it is once we have a proper structure of governance, then devolution will bear more fruits than what we have seen today. We are sending money to counties, 35% of the last audited accounts, but we have not created mechanisms on how that money is going to be managed.
Exactly.
Today, with the 15% that we are getting at the counties, you are hearing about corruption, you are hearing about runaway corruption and many other activities. You are hearing about projects that were initiated that have not been completed. But now, we are getting more money. So we must have a mechanism to ensure that, one, the oversight of those monies that are coming to the counties is clearly there. And that calls upon the county assemblies. And the county assemblies, that the way they are structured now, Zadok, they are extremely very weak. Why? They rely on their executive brother, counterpart, to finance their activities. And by virtue of that, assemblies are increasingly weak. They can't oversight the executive. So the first thing we need to do in terms of enhancing oversight activities at the county levels is to ensure that county assemblies are independent. And when we are talking about independence, we are talking about financial independence, so that they are able to oversight. But if I know my work is to oversight and I have to beg you for money for me to do oversight, you will decide when to give me the money. Sometimes you may say there is no money, because the money is not generated at the county level. The money comes from the treasury, and it's very difficult. Article 179 of the Constitution talks about the governors are the chief executive of counties.
But do we really need a referendum to get more money?
Yes. No. We need a referendum on 3 areas. One, to restructure governance by creating the position of presidency as head of state and the position of prime minister as head of government. And the same should be a replica to the counties. And in the counties, instead of having the prime minister, we shall have chief ministers. Also drawn from the members of the county assembly. And the 3, to also ensure that the Senate becomes the upper house. To deal with matters specific, devolution, and become the upper house. That is why we need a referendum. The third thing why we need a referendum is to create the creation of World Development Fund.
That is awesome.
Like now, during this era of COVID, our people are dying. Our people are sick in hospitals. And the buck stops with the MCA. It is the MCA that is asked to deal with all those issues. An MCA has no money. To deal with those issues. But the honor and the responsibilities put on the back of the MCA. And that's why the idea of creating a World Development Fund is a noble idea that could have come probably from yesterday. But the way it has been structured under the BBI, and that's why I said it needs to be improved. How? The percentage of allocation is completely very small. 5%. That's 1. 2, a clear definition of what constitutes county revenue fund. The CRF, what will constitute a county revenue fund? And there is a fear. There is one fear we have here. One, what constitutes currently as county revenue fund, it constitutes 1, shared revenue, own source, and grants. You get it? When we are talking about these categories, 3 categories, we are talking about own source. Own source means revenue that is generated locally. Shared revenue is what is shared from the national kitty. And the grants, these are money that is given to counties with a specific purpose. So what does that mean? When we're talking about 5% of share of is put into the CRF account, what is this 5%? How do we differentiate this 5%? Because as I've indicated to you, that any money that comes, there is a matrix. They have used something they have used here saying that money follows function. That any money that is brought from Nairobi to either Kisii or another county is specific to a function. So what we are proposing is that we need an increment of this money from 5% to a minimum of 15%. Why? The ward is the lowest unit of development.
Yes.
That is one proposal. There should be an increment from 5% to 10% to 15%, not 10%, 15% as minimum.
Exactly.
You got it? So that the governor and his executive remains with at least 20%. This will enable the governor to only restrict himself to projects that run across the county. And that's why we are saying, since now there will be an established ward development fund, let the constitution provide a framework on how to manage that fund. But in terms of utilization and the delivery, let the county assemblies be involved in doing local legislations. Because when it comes to Kisii or it comes to Turkana, the uniqueness of Turkana is different from the uniqueness of Kisii. The uniqueness of Narok is different from the uniqueness of Nyamira. So the MCAs from those particular counties will legislate depending on the uniqueness of those areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basi wano mwachua Muligwe TV ya AGR mheshimiwa atebile nga ngapo kuboko okugeswa gose enyongeza yechibesa kubose serikali nene wochase chiserikali chichi county wikekera ngo kemeronge 35 igoro yemya abasa kotemanga 5% elira chikwena ngo chiasi chiwodi era nigabora tukirwa wika 15 igoro yemya echimeronge biri chikutigara ngo chiwete kutigara amo nomugabana abasa atebile andi yake na baye 15% wikabaye ku specific projects baraba gukora asichiwodi bono umheshimiwa inganeleka PPI will propose 1 to 5 for MCA seat. You should be a graduate. Do you support? What is your take on that?
I don't support. Whereas, you know, there must be a reason why I want to go into school.
Yes.
I want to go into school. I get to serve your community. Whereas education is critical. Why can't we leave matters education? Because now and
yes.
You can be educated. We have so many people who are educated, but they are vegetables. So leadership is about people. Show me your friend and I'll tell you your character. If the people of Kenya want to elect people who have not gone to school, that is their choice. You cannot stifle them. You cannot talk on under the Bill of Rights.
Yes.
The Bill of Rights in our 2010 Constitution is under the Bill of Rights. Then why should you give people the right to choose and then condition? Leadership is people-centered and people-driven.
Yes.
Why can't we allow the Kenyan populace to elect? If they want to elect fools, that's how their affairs are going to be managed. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Ngakiwa kwani ingana yobo kabana ikogera PPI yo proposing odegwese na chikuru ndekero kyo kabana onyora mo debut isu kabe of opposite gender.
You see, and I want to put it clearly this way, that even in developed countries,
yes,
we have never had intergender legislations. We've never had. I am a gender activist. I have been involved in gender issues,
yes,
mainstreaming gender in leadership, in governance. I have been a very serious advocate on the same. But to the extent that now you want to legislate so that gender matters are mainstreamed, I think that is extremely going overboard. In my considered opinion,
yes,
anything is possible where there is political goodwill. Where there is no political goodwill, we will not progress as a country, we will not grow as a country. That is where the problem is. That even the country, as a country, Kenya,
yes,
we will continue borrowing. We have not seen anything more. We are going to be borrowed. We are going to borrow and we will be borrowed. We are going to borrow from China, we are going to borrow from US, we are going to borrow, and thereafter we will be borrowed.
As Kenyans.
As Kenyans. Why? We will be unable to service those monies that we have borrowed over the years. Because our expenditure, without building industries, without building, for example, this budget, this BBI thing, proposes of creation of business incubation centers.
Yes.
In various wards. How are you going to build these incubation centers and yet there are no resources? And that's why we are saying, if this 5% is increased to 15% or 20% to the wards, then we shall have sufficient money to create business incubation centers in every ward. Otherwise, the proposal as structured under BBI will be a pipe dream. Will be a mirage.
Yes.
Because essentially, there will be no funds to build those business incubation centers.
Okay, do you think youths are going to be considered under Youths Commission according to what PBI proposes?
This is paper. This is paper, and that's why I said, if I am addressing myself, I need to address myself to critical issues. Yeah? You don't need to have a youth commission. You don't.
Yes, no need.
There's no need. Yeah? Let me ask you, we have youth empowerment, we have a youth fund, we have all these things. For us to have a youth commission, then we need to evaluate and see all these funds that we have created. We have the women fund, the youth fund, and all that. How far have these funds assisted the young people towards achieving their economic independence? Yeah? Then if we find that these funds have assisted those young people, then there is need now to enhance. If enhancing is by creating a youth commission, that is it.
Yes.
But if we find we are creating a youth commission for purposes of hoodwinking young people that they are being involved, I think we will be cheating to ourselves. Because when we are creating a youth commission, how many people are going to run that commission? Very few people.
Yes.
But the entire population of young people, they need business incubation centers, they need to start cottage industries, they need, like in Kisii, we need to see issues about agribusiness, we need to see issues about value addition, we need to see issues that are going to. And in the country, in Kenya today as we are a technological country.
Yes.
The world is moving, is becoming how do you put it, the world is in our hands. Technology. We have mobiles here. We can transact. We can sell. We can buy. We can do everything.
Yes.
To what extent are we embracing technology as a way of putting young people into the business environment?
Yes.
Yeah?
How about having cabinet secretaries who are members of parliament as compared to what
it's a very good, it's a progressive thing. It's a progressive thing. When we grew up, Moi was the president of this country. Yeah? He was electing people, he was appointing people from parliament.
Yes.
Yeah? So if it's in terms of salary, if it's in terms of extra allowances, it was within the parliament. But now we have two systems. We have a parliament which is supposed to legislate,
yes,
and oversight, a weak parliament. Then we have an executive that has cabinet secretaries, that has and principal secretaries, that parliament has to go and bend. For a thing to be done in a constituency A,
yes,
members of parliament have to go and bend, request the particular cabinet secretary to go and prioritize.
Yes.
What if that cabinet secretary, his priorities is not about what is in your constituency, it's about what is in somebody's constituency? Then that project will not be taken up.
Basi wano mwanchwa muri TV ya AGR na bali moturi wetera asomtanda Facebook ne radio tebo kusi Global Radio. Oyo tugenda tukukora nere garondo chenga gukora tuguchiga kurukunga Paula ngwenye mushimiwa o sensi Ward Ase County ya Kisii. Kwani ila magana maga sawa birenga report ya BBI na bwereto gwakwa usegendere gwakwa akarangi ilikuwa gwendera abakenya. Kagarate birenga byonsi bibikwaniri ena bobiko nyarekana lakini gentekenne ngakitora kini uchumi yense ya Kenya. Ngaki turatware amabaga y'ikigasi kogera basana bange basomire bali isiko gabo batabwati ikigasi. Serikali na bwereto kuligirira ngaki irakole kigasi toke asense ya Kenya. Abwasa kwanirenga andi yake utora technocrats gose abali aba minister sense ya Kenya kogera boniga ba minister tubwate bali bagusafu asense ito ya Kenya mbali abana siasa. Lakini report iga nigo proposing andi yake tochigotwara members of parliament gose ababunge. Abwasa tebirenga nigo eko yabeire akomu asababunge kogenda ase aba minister. Watebanga nigo tutagete chibroche kitigete kokolekana. Asingencho olia ocholi na abananchi kubwase ebunge nerweka understand tibe chando eweterwa ase a constituency osa ase bunge andi yake karote bi minister ya bakongo koelewa na kiekora tutabwate magendero ase chi constituency chito ose ase jibunge echeito na mage twakwanira seri tukolia lero ntake tukogenda buchese Paula ngwenyi ili yakwane engana yo mweryo yori report ya PPI okwaniranye n'abantu basensi what
abantu baminto, thank you for the opportunity you have given me. Amangana yatwa kwanire na mangana exclusively are dear into my heart. I have been an MCA for the last 3 years and I know what the pain I'm undergoing. The creation of World Development Fund is a very good idea in the BPI document. And as I've discussed it earlier, some improvements needs to be done, especially on the management and the increment of that proposed 5% to either a minimum of 15 or 20%, so that the wards can now start getting this money right at our home, at our community for development purposes. We are living in a very difficult times. Like now we have this pandemic, and when we have such a pandemic, we have lost our friend. My colleague passed on the other day, and many people, our friends, are dying every other day because of this pandemic. And without resources at our communities, we are not going to handle this pandemic. We are not going to handle any future pandemic. And the future pandemics can only be handled when we have resources at the community level to build infrastructure that is very critical in attending to the various challenges our communities face. So in order for us to move forward as a country, the BBI is a very good initiative. I will not fight this document. I am advocating for its improvement. I am advocating that this document needs to be improved so that we have clear conscience, we have clear structure of governance, we have established a common agenda of creating an enabling environment where everybody will prosper, where everybody will not be fighting to be there to eat, but fighting that everybody has everything and anything that he needs to grow himself or herself, so that we create a country that the famous words in our constitution, that plenty be found. And indeed, Kenya is plenty. Kenya has plenty. The only thing is we need to deal with the institutional governance issues, and we will solve the problem about in this country. Corruption will become a thing of the past. Even to be a governor, it will not be a thing that people will be fighting to be governors. Or MCAs, it will not be people fighting to be MCAs or members of parliament or to be a president. Why? Because if you are able to apply yourself somewhere and get money that get paid, get your income, why should you go for where you will have problems? So once we spread the risk and involve Kenyans in decision making, we will prosper as a country. Thank you, and God bless you, everyone.
Asante sana una mwigule enkwano yo mwelio kurwasa mheshimiwa Paul Angwen oyole omwemsie kurwasa wodi ya sensi ase county ya Akisi na mangana mange arase report ya BBI kolende twakwane ila mange ayo auseka ina mangana devolution sa mangana yechi county na ali national level lakirende report iga ya BBI nigo ekenderete kutiga urayo bone ko bakuna bole ase wodi gase tukwate executive president oyole head of state na ole commander in chief oyorabe akobwa ogochoria sense ya Kenya so konyora chikura chire emerongo 5 omente yemo iguriyemia abwasara bwa konyora 25% osekere ngo kemerongo 25 iguriyemia ko sechi county wetania emerongo 2 inaye abwase obusile chiko chekwaga cyo koseko barro banatura chiko twari prime minister eyero arwe kurwase kihama kiratwara ababunge abange ase ebunge enene abwasarabe kagutwara abakonyi baye babiri obisinde erachikorosiwa neriye kurukunga official opposition leader eyo oyorabe number 2 na erora so abisi oratwara shadow cabinet wose abarayigetiga barabe bago check on the government ngakigokora emeroberio na mange turagendera gukwana ayigase radio tebe kusigo radio mune TV to ya AGR News na bali bugotugiro gutera so mtandao Facebook nigo kuberelinga byomono ase ogochora gutugiro na gototegerera gutera radio ito Marietane ingongoro kwa Dennis Zadok na baganire gotegerera bya no muri bya